Hi everyone, this is Dan and the future holds crypto. So we talked today about G20 and the roadmap to CDBCs. It doesn't look like a very fast one, but at least they started to discuss about it. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the market, how it looks today. And then we're gonna talk about some news in general about blockchain from different important good quality websites, and how blockchain will change the world and be a part of our future. We're trying to cover a little bit of that because it's a really huge domain. So yeah, let's start with how the market looks today. We have now on CoinMarketCap, it's a little bit of red. It's not a big deal. I mean, 0.94% drop for Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. In Ethereum, it's a 1.2 drop. XRP 0.54 drop. The others are still up, but Bitcoin Cash is up actually 5%. Binance Coin up 0.28. Chainlink down 0.92. Polkadot down 5.36. Cardano up 3.09. Good. Cardano is going up. Litecoin is going down 1.9%. Let's look a little bit on the indicators from Trading Central and the forecast that we have here. Let's look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. We can also look on S&P 500 and Dow Jones. Okay, so let's look at the 30 minutes chart for Bitcoin. It looks a little bit bearish for the short time. It looks that it will go back to 11,000. It's not a bad place to rebound from. On the 1 day chart, it still looks bullish. It's actually more bullish than yesterday. And I showed you that if we go actually to $13,800, that means that we are very easily, if we break that resistance, we might get easily to the all-time high. So it will be interesting to see. At least on the longer term, it looks still looks bullish. By the way, not financial advice, and these are just indicators. The things might change overnight in the other direction. So we're gonna keep looking at them at least to see how it evolves. Let's look on the Ethereum dollar per 30 minutes. It looks like it will go back to 360, a little bit bearish. On the 1 day, it looks like it will be going to 533. Interesting. Or now we're gonna go back to XRP. It looks like it still is gonna go back to 24 cents, and then on the 1 day chart it will be. It looks like they said it's gonna go to 32 cents. Now the S&P 500 on the 30 minutes chart, it looks still growing to 3,600. 1 day 3,700. 1 week 3,800. So it looks bullish. Sorry. Interesting. We have the Dow Jones. I think it's similar. Basically, it shows 29,300 on 30 minutes. On 1 day, it shows 30,800. 1 week, it shows 31,800. So okay, it looks pretty bullish. That's it for the markets. Let's go to the other subject, and basically wanted to go to this article. Basically, because it's kind of related to what we discussed in the morning with G20 and the partnership. By the way, in that discussion, they were saying that it would make more sense to actually have partnership with the private sector. So we have now on the screen. It's a document from Harvard Kennedy School, the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. So, central bank digital currencies, tools for an inclusive future. So, in brief, we outline the common motivations driving central banks to work on CDBCs. We then explore CDBCs' potential impacts on financial inclusion, a primary motivation in development and emerging markets that has also gained significant traction in developed economies during the COVID-19 related global recession. We conclude that for CDBCs to achieve its financial inclusion goals, more technical advancements in offline adaptability and policy deliberations around issues of identity and traceability are needed. So now this is a big article. I'm not going to read everything to you, but I'm going to link it in the description so you can knock yourself out. So it goes through different important aspects of the CDBCs, but we're gonna go to the conclusion directly, and it's interesting here to see that CDBCs alone are not the solution for the financial inclusion. Despite claims of financial inclusion as one of the driving motivations for CDBCs, the proposed plans have yet to address in concrete way how CDBCs can overcome the existing barriers to financial inclusion and add meaningful value in such a way that mobile money and public or private digital payment solutions already offer. While there might not be a single financial inclusion solution that can achieve both accessibility and efficiency, the private sector and tech community have proven track record of developing cutting-edge technical solutions and efficient payment systems to meet consumer demand, and public sectors actors are well positioned to provide the credibility and regulatory framework required for widespread adoption. A cross-sector approach for CDBC development and implementation led by the government is more likely to strike the optimal balance than any party can do alone. So yeah, this is kind of the same direction, and we've seen there in the G20 roadmap some similar conclusion, and also what Christine Lagarde said. So yeah, it certainly makes sense. So it will be interesting to see how this will evolve, and certainly I do think that Ripple has a good chance. I'm not saying it will, but has a good chance to be a part of this system somehow, because it's clear that it won't be only one player here. A lot of good players that provide utility, good technology, that might have the chance to get into this sector and be a part of the innovation and the revolution of this sector, if you think about it. So yeah, I do think Ripple is very well prepared, and if you look at all the things that has done in the past, has worked towards this and seems to be a few steps ahead in most of these things. So yeah, this is one part. Let's go to the next one. That we talked about the fact that we have seen great reset over the place in an official manner. You've seen it in the IMF page. You've seen it on the bank, World Bank official websites. You've seen it on the World Economic Forum. So basically, it's everywhere. It's kind of already official. They're trying to do something there. We don't know exactly how it will be, what it will do. But definitely, by the way, this is an interesting article. And I was, everybody probably is wondering, especially the ones that are passionate about this sector, and we are here for a reason. I mean, we like crypto, we like blockchain, right? This is why we are studying this space, because it's passionate. It's a new emerging sector. It's really dynamic. It's full of passion, and a lot of things are happening every day. So yeah, that falls into the dynamic category. But in any way, I think that everybody's wondering what role will the crypto play in the Great Reset. So this article is from 29th of December. But going through a little bit. Amid the chaos, Keystone global institutions and bureaucrats have openly discussed the present day as an opportunity to remake the world. The Great Reset, as the plan has been called, represents a radical initiative by the world leaders, many of whom are unelected, to transform the global economy. The World Economic Forum, for instance, claims that there is an urgent need for global stakeholders to manage the direct consequences of what the International Monetary Fund has called the Great Lockdown, referring to the quarantines and social distancing practices implemented to contain the pandemic. also, the World Economic Forum sees a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery. The Great Reset will inform the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of the global commons. In short, the Great Reset represents a new social contract for the world. The inconsistencies, inadequacies, and the contradictions of multiple systems, from health and financial to energy and educations, are more exposed than ever. And that's a good point if you think about it. So, even the British monarchy has weighed in. We have a golden opportunity to see something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people receptive to big visions of change, said Prince Charles at the meeting, adding, "It's an opportunity we have never had before, and we might never have again. So. Many details of the Great Reset won't be rolled out until the WEF meets at Davos, Switzerland, in January 2021. It's not that far away, think about it. It's right across the corner. Time flies. It's clear, however, that world leaders have big plans of a new world order, and contrary to the founding principle of Bitcoin and crypto, centralization appears to be a big part of it. Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed, wrote Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, in an article published on the WEF's website. He added, "In short, we need a great reset of capitalism." Okay, so another important thing, the central banks must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of the fiat currency is full of breaches of that trust. And you've seen, if you looked at my previous videos, you will see me talking about inflation and how that affected the industry, and how you can correlate you can look at the S&P 500 and other assets correlated to inflation, or with inflation factored in, and you'll see that things are a little bit different than they look, because it's like a hidden tax that you have beyond the other big taxes that we usually have. So it's the hidden tax, but it's so slow that few people notice it. It's like that saying. It was like, how did you get poor? So poor. It was like very, very slow, and then suddenly. Remember that. So yeah, this I also showed you how the dollar actually devalued from 1930s until today with 93%. So yeah, this is a good point here. Banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserve. We have to trust them with our privacy, trust them not to let identity thieves drain our accounts. Yeah, this is a good point, and it might be a part of it. So yeah, I hope it's obvious it was only the centrally controlled nature of those systems that doomed them. I think this is the first time when we are trying a decentralized, non-trust based system. Another thing, after PC World published an article commenting on WikiLeaks' adoption of Bitcoin to circumvent the financial blockade against the whistleblower organization, Satoshi wrote, "It would have been nice to get this attention in any context. WikiLeaks has kicked the hornet's nest, and the swarm is headed toward us." Yeah, so this is an interesting article that we wanted to go through. Another thing here is decentralized tech will be ready to humanity's next crisis, and because this is, if you think about it, they're talking about decentralization in the next step. So it's I think this is an important part that we have to think about, because we have a lot of problems coming from centralization, and nobody likes that, and it might be an important part of the future. People, we need to first of all, it won't be an overnight thing. However, keep in mind that people are not good at all to forecast exponential events or how things are evolving in an exponential manner. So it's possible that, as I said before, it can happen suddenly. So I have a bug around here. I'll catch it later. So it's that time of year when you get these small invaders in the house and you don't know where from where. So yeah, basically we're going to talk a little bit and go through this article related to decentralization. So forced digitalization is driving most of the world's population further into a grip of big tech companies, and you've seen a lot of cases when you have to abide the rules from Amazon, from YouTube, from Google. So basically there are some cases, and a lot of one from YouTube, for example, where people are shadow banned without any notice. They have no idea, or they are their videos are deleted, and basically that's censorship. And the problem is that the support from YouTube doesn't seem to be very good, and it's a delayed there, and there are a lot of people that are actually doing their main job is to do a YouTube video, so take care of the channel, basically to grow their channel. So that must be painful, and it's certainly situations like this, and there are other things that we're gonna go further away because there are even more important things here. People are kind of tired of it, and they wanna have more liberty in their actions, and centralized system cannot achieve that. So even in frauds, if you think about it. So we talked about how Goldman Sachs manipulated gold prices, right? So they released orders that they were never going to fulfill, and basically they based on the false volume, they manipulated the price. And this can certainly be happening in crypto as well, especially on shadier exchanges, because the transactions are just in the database. So basically they can only manipulate the price from there. But that's also with centralized exchanges. If we go in decentralized exchanges, that cannot happen. So that's a good thing to think about here as well. Okay, so where were we? Effective management of the pandemic cries out for integrated analysis of medical data and data on human movement and interaction. However, integrated doesn't have to mean centralized. Indeed, the centralized nature of many track and trace apps has been their doom, rendering them mostly non-functional due their incompatibility with Google and Apple's latest privacy respecting features. So a recent survey done by my colleagues at Humanity Plus, a non-profit that advocates for ethical use of technology, showed that of the attendees of their online event, 61% were not comfortable with governments collecting their psychological and medical data, even in pandemic context. Keep this in mind. This also is very important to think about. People started not to trust their government. We have this big percentage there. It's certainly looks like it's going in that direction. So, but 92% would rather their medical data be stored on a blockchain than a centralized government database. We should have a global decentralized system for collecting medical movement, interaction, and lifestyle data from everybody on the planet, and methods to analyze it in a secure, anonymous way. Statistical and AI analysis should be guided democratically by everyone contributing data, while policy could be set for sophisticated agent-based modeling leveraging this data without sacrificing privacy. We are not so far off from realizing such a system. A number of relevant tools were created by the 1,000 plus developers participating in COVIDathon, decentralized AI hackathon against COVID this spring. Part of my AI team for SingularityNet set aside their work temporarily to focus on building the Rejuve COVID app that identifies interaction early based on data from smartphone peripherals like Fitbits and digital thermometers, as well as relevant policy decisions like the opening and closing of schools and restaurants. So it's clear that the centralized systems currently running the planet are not to be trusted to coordinate the next growth phase of humanity. So one thing here is very important to think about. Look at all of this medical data that could be used, because that data is power. And now that we have emerging AI systems, machine learning and stuff like that, those systems to be able to evolve and to find relevant to solutions to existing problems, we need a lot of data. And think about it, that today basically there are a lot of small private circles everywhere in the world that are doing it independently of each other, and basically the data collection and the data usage, it's very hard and to gather and to for other circles to be able to contribute and use that data towards a common goal or a similar goal that can benefit from that data. So there are a lot of small circles everywhere that are trying to do this, and definitely I think that this will help a lot, and this is what we read here. This could be a really huge thing in the future. Imagine if we manage to achieve to build a decentralized system that takes care of the privacy, and basically at one point we can get all of this data that can be used by AI systems or machine learning, and basically a lot of things that the software that can actually make a difference, because data is power and data means a lot in this sector. And I think that data is one of the problem of this problem of centralization here. It's keeping the medical system down. I mean, it's not up to full potential. And I think that the medical system, combined with the computer science sector, together they can achieve much better results, and probably the evolution can be exponential if we manage to do this. Okay, so let's go further in this article. Hype cycles. The web went from idea to reality in the space of a decade. While Bush Memex in the 1950s and Ted Nelson from the 1960s previsioned the web, the core tech was not yet mature enough. Likewise, in the mid-90s, when I and other developers were attempting to build decentralized, strong encrypted system across the internet. Decentralized IT may now be roughly where internet tech was right after the dot-com crash. Interesting. Although the speculative bubble popped, one of it, I think we have other bubbles to come in, the tech built while it was inflating throughout the 90s laid the groundwork for the net-centric world we have today. So, Bitcoin innovation of a blockchain combines strong encryption and distributed consensus. Ethereum adds to this with the successful implementation of general-purpose smart contracts. This goes a long way in the terms of transitioning the vision of secure, decentralized computing platform towards practical realizations. Likewise, the proliferation of ERC-20 tokens. Initial coin offerings, initial exchange offerings were speculative but reflected a genuine flourishing of creativity. The crypto entrepreneurs of 2016-2018 were, for the first time in human history, starting to think through the myriad details of real-world information and value processing without a small elite group of owners or controllers. There was a sense we were soon going to see all centralized ways of doing things fall by wayside in favor of new approaches with robust democratic governance. Let's go a little bit further over here. Companies around protocols that never stop building are laying the groundwork for decentralized revolution. Brave browser, by the way, we are on Brave browser like now. I really like it. It's fast and it has integrated native mechanism for block adding and the privacy and keeping the privacy. So I really like it. I'm using it for a while now. So Brave browser is a fine web browser with a functioning token ecosystem integrated. Decentraland has made real progress towards tokenizing the metaverse. let's look here. Cardano has step by step made incredible progress at deploying the key functions of a large-scale public blockchain in a programming language Haskell, amendable to formal proofs of correctness, and in the spirit of Kirik.io and others, has pioneered a new approach to smart contracts. Algorand has rolled out an extremely scalable blockchain platform suited for payments and fintech application. Well, we also have Ripple. It doesn't mention Ripple here for some reason. I feel that Ripple is the biggest, and I mean, it is Ripple in payments from my perspective. But as I said, others will emerge and others will take a part of the market. SingularityNet has been up and running in scalable beta of its decentralized AI network for more than a year now. Certainly we lag far behind the Googles and Microsoft of the new worlds in terms of traction, but we have a few tricks on our sleeves, and it may be that by sometime next year we have an AI network in some important sense more powerful than anything than these companies have to offer. Okay. Optimism, that would be interesting. This is the nature of evolution. The best blockchain project among those that have survived the crypto winter have solved hard problems and are on the way to solve even more. It's clear that centralized systems currently running the planet cannot be trusted to coordinate the next growth phase of humanity and its tech, nor to cope with the next global tragedy. COVID is not going to be the last crisis to hit our species, and that's for sure. And we want to cope with the next one better than we are doing right now. We desperately need the tools that today's blockchain projects are bringing towards maturity. I certainly agree with this, and actually this article brought up a lot of good points here. So okay, let's go to another one I wanted to show. Not this one. That's certainly interesting. Okay, so blockchain goes to college. Let's say that you're a 17-year-old high school senior. You finished near the top of your class. You nailed your SATs. Basically, by the way, this is a US-centric article. You know that in US there's a huge, from my perspective, huge problem with the costs of college. They certainly have good colleges as well, but I hate the fact that young people are going in their early life with a huge debt. Right, and I don't think that's a good system, and somewhere someone has fucked up. So option A is an elite university that will likely, but not certainly, reward you with a decent job, but it will also guarantee a crushing $200,000 in debt, and who knows what the economy will look like in 4 years, or even if we have an economy, or even we have a planet. Okay. Option B is a school that only leaves you with $80,000 debt, but it has the whiff of mediocre compromise. What's the secret? Option C. What if theoretically you could get the same caliber of education as the Ivy League, the fraction of the cost, through some non-traditional classes and self-study? You're skeptical. It sounds like a scam, like an information, and you would trust this do-it-yourself college degree? Now, what is your dream employer had to do some trust in your do-it-yourself degree as a diploma from Harvard? What is he or she generally believe that because you demonstrate a certain fluency in Japanese or whatever? We're gonna stop here. You can read this article. I will the full article. It's huge. I'm gonna leave it in the description. However, I think that option C here is interesting to discuss because I'm gonna talk it from my perspective because I live in Bucharest, Romania, by the way, and I'm actually a manager in an IT company, and I've grown. I helped grow. IT center here, the product development center here, and I've been in hundreds of interviews with to hire people for this center, and I have some experience here, and definitely to some degree having a good university, finished a degree in Romania, will definitely help in catching my eye or HR's eye in terms of when you're selected to come to the interview, right? So that's certainly a good thing. I mean, here it's free, by the way, so the college is free. So having a good degree shows that it helps in being chosen for the interview. That's one. Second, it also shows that you are dedicated and you have worked to finish something that is not that easy to finish, because the computer science, for example, in Romania, and not only the computer science university here, are pretty serious, and it's have a big have a big degree of difficulty to actually get the diploma of. I'm not saying that it's the best or it cannot improve its courses. Certainly they can. They have a long way to go. However, they do teach you how to learn and how to be versatile and adapt to different situations, different technology. So yeah, that's okay. So definitely it helps, right? However, what I want to say here is that we are not only looking at this part. So we had people that didn't finish college or don't have a college, or are going to less famous college, let's say. And if we see that they know their stuff, we don't care. We don't care at all. I mean, that's the most important part. I mean, if they have the knowledge that you want or you need, that's it. From our perspective, that's kind of it. Keep that in mind. And what I wanted to also show you is basically that it's very important to be educated in what you like, right? And to find your passion. And let's go a little bit to another video here. So we have the power of blockchain from Professor Arturo Briz of OWP Dubai, Institute for Management Development in Dubai.
Hello, my name is Arturo Briz. I am a professor of finance at IND. During OWP, I was leading a stream on blockchain and cybersecurity. Among the many technologies that are changing the world, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, the one that is truly disruptive is blockchain. Blockchain, it is going to transform business model, and at the same time is going to make many players, especially in the financial services, completely obsolete. That's why we actually discuss in the context of banks and insurance companies what the changes that blockchain is going to bring will impact the new shape of the industry. Our discussion yesterday focused primarily on what we call the token economy, where assets are transformed by a digital substitute. And in that context, through the token economy, we just disrupt all these business models that operate as intermediaries in the digital realm. All in all, we saw that blockchain is going to truly change the world.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the excitement? So I showed you everything, all of this today, because I think that it's very clear. Look at all of the great news, all of the news that are happening lately. Blockchain is here. Blockchain is here to stay. We are here in the adoption. And by the way, if people think of blockchain only as cryptocurrency, it's not only that. It's not only that. Indeed, it will be a part of the future as technology. So it's. I wanted to make a point here. It is really important to see everything that is moving around you, because it is moving around you. You see it everywhere now. I've seen you hear a couple of interesting articles. It will be a part of our future. It will be, as Professor Arturo said, disruptive. Going back to education, imagine. So this is just the beginning, right? It's imagine all of this happening, and as I said, basically at one point it will happen very quickly. Slow, and then suddenly. So imagine that in this case, at one point there will be a big need of experts in this field. And universities are not ready for this. Not all of they haven't gone to mature we don't have any courses or specialty in this field. We cannot get a computer science degree or in blockchain, specialization in blockchain, or a master degree in blockchain. At least I haven't seen anything until now. So it's important to try to keep ahead, because at one point, imagine we might have a big crisis in our midst, maybe next year, maybe in 2 years, but I think the best safe asset that you have to invest in is yourself. And I'm certainly trying to do that, and be prepared for it, because your knowledge here is the best that you can do this during this period. Invest in yourself. You will thank me later. So if you manage to learn about this sector, because I believe 100% that not overnight, but it will soon explode. The demand for experts here will be through the roof. Will be through the roof. So now you will have to find different sources, but one of them I liked. I mean, at least from what I've seen now, one of the good sources I found on the internet. You can also find on Coursera and stuff like that. But Ivan on Tech certainly has a lot of good materials here. It goes through even with technical analysis and stuff like that, but React web development, baseline protocol, UBRI, Ethereum smart contracts, Ethereum smart contract programming 201, EOS programming, Unity blockchain game development, Ethereum game programming, JavaScript programming for blockchain. That's very interesting to look at. I will have to make some time here to look at it. But yeah, invest in yourself. That's what I'm saying, and remember this. It's very important. And people are basically saying that that we talked about the market cycles and the fact that the market cycles might be lengthening, and people are disappointed. They want to sell, they want to get out. They're saying, "Oh no, another year, another 2 years. I don't want to get here. This is all a scam. I'm gonna get out. It's too much." First of all, learn about market cycles, learn about the possibilities in market cycles. Look at maybe it might be next year, maybe we'll have a bull run in the couple of years. What you can do until then, stop complaining. Invest in yourself, invest in this, because this is part of the future in any means, being it cryptocurrency, but other things as well, because it's blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that can be used in other directions as well. So yeah, that's something that I really wanted to say for until now, but I wanted to make a good point in this video. Now we're the next thing that I wanted to go through is the Ripple, the official Ripple channel has the UBRI Connect virtual event. This is the day 3, and I found something interesting here. This might take a while.
Is not that.
Oh, and here we go. Sorry for the delay. I thought I had it in the right frame. So a Firescape chat regulatory deep dive. I thought this is an important thing to watch. So we have Kevin Werbach from University of Pennsylvania, Bill Foster, U.S. representative for Illinois, Darren Soto, U.S. representative for Florida. So we'll have this. Let's see. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit because I cannot. It's too slow.
All right, we are live. Thank you all for joining. I'd like to welcome Congressman Foster and Congressman Soto. Thank you both for joining us here. And thanks to you and the whole Congressional Blockchain Caucus for the work that you do on these issues. I'm Kevin Werbach from the Wharton School. I'll be the moderator. And let me start by asking both of you, if you could just say from your perspective, what do you think is the value and the potential of blockchain technology? Congressman Foster, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, first off, Kevin and everyone, thanks for having me here. I guess introduce myself sometimes as representing 100% of the strategic reserve of physicists in the United States Congress. But I guess for this audience, I'm also probably 100% of the blockchain programmers. My son and I, every Christmas, to sort of celebrate my teaching him how to program decades ago, do a software project. And 2 Christmases ago, we decided to make a Python blockchain client from scratch. And that was so I kind of understand the nuts and bolts, but that doesn't guide you to the policy decisions. And I see the real value of blockchain as a non-falsifiable ledger. And then the way that you use that really is something that forces you to think deeply about what you want to accomplish with the transfer of value and the way you think about privacy. So we'll be getting more deeply into that, but just after having thought about this for literally years, I think that the dream of not having a trusted third party is only really going to work in a situation where the value of the transaction is low enough that you don't mind losing it. And so I'll be happy to go into that in more detail, but there can be a tremendous advantage to blockchain in that 99.9% of the time the transactions can go smoothly and with low friction enabled by blockchain. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about it.
Great. Congressman Soto.
Well, I view several different potentials with blockchain. First, as Bill talked about, security, whether it is stabilizing our networks against literally millions of cyber attacks that we get every year and making the internet giving it more integrity. In addition, I view it as a great way to aggregate data in a fixed, safe way so that when coupled with artificial intelligence, we can address some of the biggest issues facing the country and the nation and the world. When we first faced this coronavirus, it was supercomputers that helped us narrow down to 12 different antiviral drugs, one of which was remdesivir. And one can imagine that that was a huge breakthrough and that we could see more of this going on with blockchain leading the way and decentralized data aggregation and then AI helping sort through everything. And then finally for international transactions, particularly services and sometimes goods between small businesses across the world. You don't have to exchange currency to do that, as well as remittances of so many Americans who may be of a different country of origin originally and are working here and sending money back. So I view a lot of potential in these areas and others.
So let me follow up on something that you just said, Congressman. I think both of you were among the signatories of a letter a month and a half ago to President Trump encouraging the exploration of blockchain technology in COVID-19 response and relief. Can you talk a little bit more about how this technology might be valuable in dealing with the pandemic? You want to go first, Congressman Soto?
Sure.
Sure. So Bill and I and others in the Blockchain Caucus signed on to 2 major letters. One to consider using blockchain technology to distribute personal protective equipment, and another to send stimulus payments. Right now, we're using older technology that is from the Pentagon to help distribute, and we thought that it would be quicker, more efficient, and we'd be able to identify through different factors getting money and personal protective equipment to folks in a much more expeditious fashion. Unfortunately, the administration didn't agree with us, but they at least started entertaining the idea.
Yeah, and I think one of the things our letter speaks to is the potential use of blockchain to more efficiently and safely distribute medical supplies and PPE. There still is a significant problem with fraudulent and out-of-spec medical equipment being distributed and sold during the pandemic. And one of the lessons we've learned is sort of the hard way is the importance of managing the supply chain, and that's something where DLT can be a real help. Medical equipment is far from the only use of blockchain for supply chain management. It could be used for everything from making sure that a product you buy is not built with child labor to making sure your handbag is not a knockoff and that the royalties have been paid and so on. One of my hopes is that the government will sponsor various pilot programs and research projects to really show that this works and that we understand the sort of logical structure of how you would make a very complex supply chain management. For example, if you go to a store and buy a microwave, and you want to guarantee or at least a reliable reporting of how much of that microwave was built with child labor, then you have to have a very involved supply chain tracking. Which would be too expensive to do manually, but with the blockchain-enabled technology, you have a real shot at knowing that 33% of the value added of this microwave actually came from countries that have strong prohibitions against child labor or not.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue to what I was going to ask next to Congressman Soto. You were one of the sponsors of a couple recent pieces of legislation promoting greater study of blockchain technology. So can you talk a little bit more about what the goals are there?
Sure. So we passed 2 major bills out of the House already, the Blockchain Innovation Act and parts of the Digital Taxonomy Act. They're basically 2 bills that call for studies, reports, and recommendations. The first to the Department of Commerce to help provide a report on the state of blockchain and commerce, include efforts to reduce fraud and increase security. And then the second is having the FTC look at unfair and deceptive practices related to digital tokens, and to look at ways we can protect consumers and promote innovation in the global digital token sector. And these are really first steps to developing a light touch statutory regime and other priorities that we're putting forward. We've gotten a lot of great interest on both sides of the aisle in the Senate as well. So I think there's a good chance we could see these bills pass either standalone or more likely in a larger overall package in the lame duck session, setting up really a 1.5 to 2 year window to get those reports back and to put together a statutory regime to protect consumers and make blockchain and cryptocurrency generally more competitive in the United States.
So how are we doing in the United States from a regulatory perspective with regard to blockchain and crypto assets? We've been talking about government use of the technology, but there is a huge set of regulatory issues. Congressman Foster, what's your sense about so far where we are in terms of regulation?
Well, I think one area that we're clearly in danger of falling behind is in central bank digital currencies. This is something where China and other countries are going ahead very rapidly, and we cannot afford not to because of the danger this places towards eventually displacing the U.S. dollar as the currency that's used internationally.
Listen to this. So it's they're realizing that they're falling behind, and it might displace the US dollar if they're not accelerating their rhythm.
And so I think it's going to be very important for us to take advantage of the fact that the United States has a trusted court system that I believe will be necessary to back up most high-value crypto contracts. That you're going to see, for example, if I have a crypto contract where I'm going to hand over my house under some circumstances, you don't want to be in a situation where someone can drag you into an alley, put a gun at your head, tell you to get out your cell phone, and then irretrievably transfer the deed to your house to someone else. So that you need in all high-value transactions to have a court system that you can trust, that you can appeal to eventually to, if necessary, to have the transaction unmasked and reversed. And so this is that's the toughest design question in any crypto transaction scheme that you come up with. Under what conditions, if any, you have a court system that can unmask the participants, and under what circumstances you can go to a court system to reverse a transaction. For example, I guess when the famous instance when the Bitcoin vault had the owner of the vault apparently die. And then you really want to have a court to go and unwind the transactions where various investors put their money into that vault. And so this is the sort of thing that has to be thought of from the start. And I think Congress has only started to think about these issues, but it will be a tremendous advantage to the United States and the countries of the free world that we have a trusted court system to back up these things. And I'm happy to go on in more detail about that. But I think it's a fundamental point that I think Congress and a lot of the public are coming to understand on this.
So think about it. It's everybody's afraid of regulations. Everybody's afraid of regulation, but if you think about it, look at what he's saying. This will actually be in our favor, in people's favor. I mean, you don't be afraid of having situations like that.
So let me ask you a follow-up on that, and then I'll go to Congressman Soto about the regulatory questions. If we have a trusted court system and we have a trusted central bank, the Fed issuing our currency, why do we need something like a blockchain-based or in general a central bank digital currency?
Well, I think it will be a useful first approximation that will work 99.99% of the time. For example, let's say that you buy you buy a product and you're assured because there's a blockchain tracing of the of the whole supply chain that it was entirely manufactured in countries and companies that don't support child labor. And then and so that will work very light.
Give me 1 second. My kid is screaming. Be right back. And here we go again.
Weight system that will give you a good guarantee. But then if it turns out that one of the companies involved was fraudulent, gets caught, you then want to go back and make an annotation on the blockchain to say, oh, actually, this company was certified on the blockchain initially as a good actor, but now has been proven to be a bad actor. So you want the court system that you trust to say, yes, indeed, this company has been caught doing something bad, and that therefore we are going to use the key that we have unique access to overwrite the statement on the blockchain that all of these products are in fact free of child labor. Just an example of what you might want to do. And that will only be important in rare cases, hopefully rare cases, where there's a significant amount of value at risk, like in that case, revoking the factory's certification that they're free of child labor.
Congressman Soto, what's your take about the regulatory environment? And especially, we haven't really talked about token classifications and crypto assets and so forth.
It remains an obstacle to innovation in the country. We know we have statutory and regulatory uncertainty because there's no new updated laws establishing a digital asset, which in the case of cryptocurrency can be a security, it can be a currency, it can be a future, it can be a commodity. And the old taxonomy just doesn't work for them. So right now we see startup companies having to spend as much as 50% on legal. And as a commercial attorney, well, I guess personally that's not such a bad thing overall for a cryptocurrency. It's a terrible thing. So in order to promote innovation, we're already on the road. The two bills that just passed out of the House that we expect to pass into law that I previously alluded to are getting us on that road by getting the FTC and the Department of Commerce more involved in responding and recommending to Congress. One of the other obstacles is educating many members of Congress. It's a new technology. Many members are not a scientific mind like Mr. Foster and aren't below 50 and have a legal mind like myself where we're willing to engage. And so there's an education process to get the Congress more familiar. And ultimately, we're on the road to establishing a statutory regime and also to getting a center of blockchain excellence in the Department of Commerce to help to consolidate and integrate blockchain into all the various agencies, whether it's for financial issues, whether it's to secure our data, or whether it's to use that data coupled with the AI to solve some of the biggest problems that our nation has in healthcare, climate change, and combating the coronavirus.
What about the concerns about fraud and money laundering? There have been lots of cases about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency being used for criminal activity. That's, I think, one of the concerns about a new regulatory regime that might be more open to these technologies.
Listen to this. This is very important, and actually we talked about this in a previous video when people are just throwing this away in front of you. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is used for fraud and stuff like that, and I showed you that basically the biggest money laundering that is happening today is happening in the trusted systems like big banks, and I showed you how Goldman Sachs was caught with the gold manipulation, the price of gold manipulation, and it got a $1 billion fine, but I think that's nothing to them. How big banks like Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank were involved in money laundering for $2 trillion. So keep that in mind. This is good. This is a good explanation.
Yeah.
Sure. So first,
go ahead.
Please, Bill.
So person follow either way.
Okay. So because it's a fixed ledger, many foolish criminals have tried to use cryptocurrency and have gotten caught by the FBI and others. So I'm not as worried about that. Certainly, we are concerned about consumer fraud, though, which is one of the two pillars of questions we've asked the FTC and the Department of Commerce. That protecting consumers and innovation are the two things we're looking at right now. So I'm not as worried about that. We have parallel currencies. We've had them for a long time, whether it's people doing in-kind transactions, whether it's gold or other commodities being used to pay for goods or services. So this isn't the first, and this won't be the last parallel currency to the dollar that we have in the world. And certainly this is an exciting new one because of its fixed nature. I believe it's actually a perfect currency to be able to catch bad guys rather than allowing them to utilize it should we have open access.
Congressman Foster.
Yeah, well, I think that we have to look at the issue with identity fraud straight in the eye and early, and that's something that the government really can do. I think we saw this in the COVID epidemic, where I think the United States is the only country, the only club that I know that does not have a list of its members. And there's also a need to have some legally traceable identity associated with many and perhaps all high-value transactions. And so this is a tough thing. But if you're talking about trading, for example, there's a very well-known ancient abuse called wash trades, where you establish a fake price for a commodity by anonymously buying an asset to yourself under two different names. And the only way to avoid that is to have some trusted entity, the regulator, have visibility into both sides of the transaction, so we can understand whether or not it was a legitimate arm's length transaction or some effort to manipulate the market in these. And so that's one of many instances where you really need to have a well understood secure digital identity behind everyone who wishes to play in this. 99.99% of the time it won't be an issue, but when something goes wrong, you really want to be able to go to a court system you trust and unmask the participants in things. And again, that has to be built into the technology from the start.
We're going to take some questions.
So it's funny that it's really funny that he mentioned this, especially since in the beginning here they're talking about PayId. So what is basically, you think about how you're sending your data. So let's if you want to send an email, you just name.gmail.com or whatever. It's a simple thing, you can remember it, especially if you choose it for yourself. If you want to get a phone number from someone, and by the way, you're gonna ask the phone number, okay? So, and the name, you're gonna ask the phone number, and then are you going to ask the carrier behind? No, you don't care, because in the system it doesn't matter what carrier is the number with associated with. It just doesn't matter, because the system behind it does all the connections and rerouting and stuff like that. So but when it comes to banks and with the payments that you have to do, and I've had to do international payments, especially the ones in US were pain. Really a pain with all of the things you have to insert there. With the ones in the EU were not necessarily were in country, not necessarily a good experience. You have to remember the name, you have to remember the IBAN and the ID, and that huge ID. And you cannot remember that huge ID, or it takes a while. So and you also have some other differentials that you have to insert there, like see Swift code and stuff like that. So wouldn't it be nice to have something like PayId, let's say like an email, you send me that money at dan.crypto, or actually I do have the the number, the channel actually is I have the domain on Unstoppable Domains, the future holds.crypto, so you can send money for that, for example, directly. You say send, you just select the future holds.crypto and you send money. Wouldn't that be easier to remember and to use it in IDs? And by the way, payment Ripple and PayId, they already worked on that, and that's why I'm saying that Ripple seems to be ahead of the things and always 2 steps ahead. So payments should be easier, as I said. Tomorrow payments network will be open. To achieve this vision, today Ripple joins over 40 global companies and non-profits as a member of the newly formed Open Payments Coalitions, launching PayId, the Universal Payment Identifier. PayId is a free and open standard that allows the interoperability between payment networks. PayId allows the organic growth where no single company can control or set terms for joining. The solution is built around people, replacing complex account numbers with simple names that are easy to understand. Remember and even type. The PayId work across and payment network currency, be it fiat or digital. Simple, right? You don't care what's there. You know that now if you want to send Bitcoin, you have to send it to a Bitcoin address, and if you send it to another address like Ethereum, you actually lose the Bitcoin, and you have to be very careful. And if you have this, basically you don't have to specify this is the Bitcoin. This is they will reroute everything in behind and make the necessary adjustments there. You don't have to worry about this anymore. So. PayId enhances RippleNet, an open payment network that unites everyone around the globe. Is a valuable resource for every participant, and an open network built on open standards enable innovation and growth. Ripple's global payment RippleNet is integrated in PayId to bring further interoperability into cross-border payments. The mission and the work of the coalition aligns with Ripple's founding vision, enabling the world to move value like it moves information today, a concept we refer to Internet of Value. And you have heard a lot of times where David Schwartz or representative or Brad Garlinghouse or other representative from Ripple talks about their end goal to create the Internet of Value. The RippleNet and RippleNet's on-demand liquidity service empowers financial institutions to instantly, reliable, and cost-effectively send global payments by leveraging blockchain technology and digital asset XRP. Taken together, Ripple's innovation solution combined with the power of Open Payments Coalition's effort are transforming global payments for everyone, everywhere. By enabling a world where money moves as easy as information, PayId drives digital payments forward, simplifying global payments for all and brings the world one step closer to realizing the Internet of Value. Ripple is proud to be among the coalition of industry leaders, helping to establish this much-needed open standard for interoperability so that Internet of Value can become a reality. So yeah, by the way, I'm not going to let this they're still talking here. I'm gonna link this in the description, but I think that we are good for today. I think this video was actually too long, but I think that I had some information that I wanted to share and to make a point. So thank you everyone for watching. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell notifications, and share with your friends or family. Thank you again, and have a great day. See you in the next one.